For our senior project, we decided to make a movie review blog where we watched a handful of movies, learned a little bit about what it's like to review movies and what it means to make a movie, the whole process of it, and just how to review a movie as well as how to make a blog.
Yeah, so for our blog, we used Wix to build our blog, which is pretty cool. It allowed us to make all of our posts chronologically, which was good. So we're going to go through each of the movies we watched and kind of explain why we picked the movie and kind of the conclusion we made from it. So we're going to start with Declan O'Mara reviewing Caddyshack, which we watched the Tuesday when we started the senior project.
We started with Caddyshack because it's a real classic. I mean, a lot of people have seen Caddyshack. There's not much more to be said about it. It's a real favorite. It's a very lighthearted comedy. It's not a very serious movie, and as far as movies go, it doesn't appear to be doesn't appear like the directors took it very seriously or anyone really, which I think provides to the lightheartedness of the comedy for the final product, and that's what I try to reflect on in my review. You have to go into the movie knowing what you're going to get. If you go in with the mindset that it's going to be a traditional movie, you're going to be disappointed. But because we knew what we were getting into, I thought it was overall a pretty good movie. It was nice, funny. We laughed.
Nice. Next one's Jack Armstrong and the Breakfast Club, which we watched on the Wednesday.
Yeah, so I reviewed The Breakfast Club. I really wanted for us to watch this movie because I know a lot of people who reference it all the time, and I personally had never really seen the movie in full before. So I know it's a really iconic film. It's made by the same guy who made Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And going into it, I kind of expected it to be a regular teen movie, but I actually went a lot deeper than that. It talked about like a lot of personal issues, like growing up with bad family relationships and like a guy growing up and realizing he's in the wrong profession, kind of deeper topics like that. Overall, I was really impressed with how deep it went. I didn't expect it to be that serious. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Next movie is Declan O'Mara in The Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wall Street is another classic movie. Everyone's heard of it. Most people have seen it. It's according to most critics, it's quite well acclaimed. There's not really a whole lot to be said about this one either. It's a real classic, action-packed. It's very plot-driven compared to some of the other comedy movies we watched. But for a movie like this, where it's following the life of an actual person, that's sort of what you would expect. So this is another movie, though, where you have to understand that what you're going to get is a lot of crude humor. There's a lot of, obviously, like drugs. It's not a family-friendly movie by any means, but it is an entertaining movie, and I appreciate that it follows the life of Jordan Belfort, who was a real person, and for the most part, the movie is based on what he actually did and what actually happened to him. And with that in mind, it provides good insight into a life that most people will never live. And from that perspective, it is a good movie, and that is why I chose to rate it 8.5 out of 10.
Nice. Next one is Andrew Shimmick and Casino Royale. Classic James Bond.
So yeah, I wanted us to watch James Bond quite a bit because I'm a fan. I mean, it's James Bond. There's not very much to be said about any morals to be said at the end of the movie. It's James Bond. You got poker, drugs, women, all the good stuff, foot chases. I mean, it's just basically an eye candy movie. There's literally nothing to be said about it other than the things I mentioned before, but it's very nice to watch. And overall, I gave it a 9.25 because I'm quite a fan of Daniel Craig and poker. So, yeah.
Next is Jack Armstrong and Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically everybody knows seen Star Wars, and at this point of our lives, like all the movies that come out, there's like a full trilogy, prequel, and sequel. So it's a very well-developed thing, but back when it was released, it was kind of meant to stand on its own. So I kind of wanted to look at it from that perspective. Like, when it was made back in 1977, George Lucas kind of like made it as a standalone thing. It wasn't really supposed to have sequels. And on its own, it still really holds up. I really appreciate a lot of the effects, like the CGI they used. A lot of the sets were really original. And I think that looking back, I really appreciate how out there it was and how it kind of sparked a whole new world that would be really unique in the future. So yeah, I was really nostalgic watching this one. I really liked all the actors in it, and I just had a great time watching it. So I give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Nice. And the movie I picked to review was Jaws. And I think it's easily said that we were going to review this movie. For me personally, I wasn't allowed to watch it until I was, older. So it was always a movie that was on my mind that I wanted to watch, and when I watched it, I was really, blown away. And it's always, whenever you think of like sharks or anything like that, someone always mentions the Jaws movie. And it's such a simple storyline, which kind of one theme, and it's very predictable like timeline, which Steven Spielberg, the director, really built a foundation for future movies. And the memories that this movie brings up with me watching it with my family is really important to me. And I thought it was a great movie, so I rated it an 8.5 out of 10. Next is Andrew Shimmick's Skyfall.
All right, so here we go. We got the second movie of the Daniel Craig Bond franchise. This is arguably the best one, in my opinion. It features masterful acting from Daniel Craig and Judi Dench. I actually wanted to watch it really bad because at first all I heard was that song, that stupid song by Adele, named after the movie, and I hate it so much. But it's so nice as the theme song. But overall, this is a great movie. Again, not much to be said morally or anything to be taken away. A lot of similar themes that you tend to see in Bond aspects. However, these are a lot more. The Daniel Craig movies are a lot more gritty than the Roger Moore, Sean Connery, and it leads to a lot more character development and a lot more flesh that you can get from the movie. So overall, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because I enjoyed it quite a bit.
All right, next one is Ben Hoffman's E.T.
All right, so for my movie, I reviewed E.T., or The Extraterrestrial. So in the course of our project, we tended to focus on more classic movies, and when I think of classic movies, E.T. kind of immediately jumps out. This Spielberg-directed movie is just, I don't know, it's just an incredible film. It's, got everything that you want from a family film. It's, it's about family, it's about love, it's about compassion for other people. And it's just an incredible work of, the special effects for the time were just really remarkable. So I really enjoyed it, gave it a 9.5 out of 10.
All right, great. Next one is Ben Hoffman's Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
So again, with the classic movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off I thought was very similar to The Breakfast Club, focuses a lot on high schoolers, and but a little different from The Breakfast Club. It's much more carefree, it's a comedy, it's very funny, and it's probably one of the most quoted movies that you'll find. It's, everywhere from The Simpsons to Family Guy to just a whole host of commercials. There are so many iconic scenes that they don't even really bear repeating. And so I really enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
All right, and that was it. If anyone wants to actually see the reviews and read them in full, they can visit mbergwall2222.wixsite.com/DHS movie review. And we really want to thank the DHS administration and senior project team for allowing us to do this for the end of our season.
Let's go, Mr. Booked Up!
Thank you very much.